Minister of Finance, Dr. Nigel Clark, says the government has put in place contingencies in the event the coronavirus reaches Jamaica. Dr. Clark says there are sufficient reserves in the Bank of Jamaica to respond to the potential crisis. The finance minister was responding to a question from Member of Parliament for St. Andrews South, Mark Golding, on whether the 2020-2021 estimates of expenditure now being reviewed by the Standing Finance Committee has provisions to respond to the likely impact of the virus on the Jamaican economy. Dr. Clark said the budget, which was tabled on February 11, was finalized before the full extent of the crisis was known. And we'll have more on the Standing Finance Committee in Primetime News at 7. Meanwhile, local manufacturers have started feeling the effects of the virtual shutdown of China's economy in the wake of the COVID-19 outbreak. In an update to TVJ News, the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association said its members are now being told they will have to wait up to 6 months to receive raw materials and equipment from China. This is up from an average 2 months. President of the association, Richard Pandowi, says this has implications for the food and packaging industries.
We're seeing some of our own raw material and packaging suppliers out of for example, in other jurisdictions, North America, Europe, now having impact because they themselves were sourcing input materials from China. So the whole value chain is starting to become really it's tightening, and we're seeing supply issues. We're seeing definite price increase issues. So you're now beginning to see the impact, and so lead times have definitely increased, and prices have now started to move throughout the system.
Now, the slump in economic activities in China was driven by the government's virus control measures, including quarantines, travel restrictions, and factory closures. New data show that production, new orders, and staffing levels plummeted at the fastest rates on record in February, while supply chains and delivery times took a hit. The Jamaica Agricultural Society has given its support to the development of the Bernard Lodge lands in St. Catherine. This despite opposition from some, including farmers, the opposition, and the Portmore Municipal Corporation. We have more from TVJ's O'Shane Masters.
We are not here to fight your personal battles. That's the word from President of the Jamaica Agricultural Society, JAS, Lenworth Fulton. His comments follow continued opposition to the development of Bernard Lodge in St. Catherine. He told TVJ News that some members of his organization are lobbying for them to take up such matters, but that will not happen.
We can't take the position in a country which is trying to move the per capita income from a low $5,000 per person, which disallows us to enjoy the world. When you come with investment, if a relocation has to happen, it has to happen.
There has been a standoff between the government, the opposition People's National Party, some farmers and other stakeholders in St. Catherine regarding the development of the farming lands. That standoff led to the reconfiguration of the development plans by the Joseph Shakira-led STJ Holdings.
We accept the revised plan, and we are happy that the roughly 300 farmers know where they will go to every morning when they left their homes. They know what crops they can grow. They have land tenure. They can be productive farmers. We could have gone on for further negotiation and ripped these 300 farmers asunder, where they have no abiding place.
But the Agricultural Society president says the opposition party itself shouldn't be criticizing the development.
35, 40 years ago, that same Bernard Lodge property was 21,000 acres. 6,500 or so acres are left there now. 14,000 acres have been built out by both political parties into houses. Wrong, 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 but it's there already.
O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
The St. Catherine North Police Division has been kept busy following 2 murders in Green Acres, Spanish Town on Sunday night and a shooting incident on Marchpen Road this morning. The police are still trying to find the motives for both incidents.
Bright and early Monday morning, the St. Catherine police were busy on a crime scene on Teresa Road and Green Acres, Spanish Town. It's the location where 39-year-old Sharon May Brown and 64-year-old Trevor Stewart, both from the community, were attacked. It was reported that sometime after 9 o'clock, residents heard screams for help. However, the victims were not discovered until sometime after 7 o'clock Monday morning.
She came home
with a gentleman, and a lone man on foot pounced on them. The gentleman was shot and injured, and she received injuries. We are not sure if it is gunshot wounds, but she received injuries, and her body was at the back of her house.
Mr. Stewart succumbed to his injuries Tuesday morning at the Spanish Town Hospital, where he was being treated. Crime officer for the St. Catherine North Division, Deputy Superintendent Leighton Blackstock, says the motive for the killings is not yet known.
It's early days yet, and we will go to the bottom of this one to see what really transpired. This is a very quiet community, upscale, and something like this, you know, would just cause residents to be a little scared. But we just want to implore on them to allow the police to do our work and to assist us in any way that they can. We will be back to do our canvassing and to continue the investigation with this homicide.
Meanwhile, a shootout ensued on Marchpen Road Tuesday morning. It's not clear how the incident unfolded, but up to news time, there were no confirmed fatalities. Since the incident, there has been a heavy security presence in the area. Prince Moore, TVJ News.
And we now take a break, but more stories right after these messages. Please stay with us. Welcome back. Continuing the news now. A 76-year-old St. Elizabeth man remains in police custody pending investigations into the killing of a 65-year-old woman over the weekend. The man, who has a child with the woman, was held by the police shortly after the gruesome act, but is yet to be charged.
Killing of 65-year-old Patsy Davison Powell in Exton District Junction in St. Elizabeth remains fresh in her family's mind. This was Sunday, hours after the man believed to have murdered her, a 76-year-old farmer with whom she had a child, was taken into custody by the police. On Tuesday, the police told our newsroom that the alleged killer remains in jail. He's yet to be questioned or charged. Patsy's daughter was the one who found her body.
He always said that, well, him always telling people, so me go come from work, come find him dead and fall up around her back because him have to kill her. So last night when we come home from work, me find her dead, throw down in the house, on her back, in a pool of blood.
So, I understand he come here before.
He was here around after 3 minutes to 4 when a neighbor heard her screaming and had to rush by him and pull him off of her, and he left.
She said her mother was getting ready to go to her brother's house to stay out of fear for her life, but obviously she didn't make it out of the house.
So they're having dispute?
Yes. And tired to report him to the police.
And the police did nothing?
Yeah, then came to him and talked to him and go in house and come here and I'll find him, take him from him, climb back up him house at Ballas Valley and tell him that he must not come back up here, but he dodged when he ready.
When me here, oh God, my bed bottom broke. Me jump into Jesus.
So when you hear you jump on the bed broke now?
Because somebody called me and say something happened up. So when you hear me say, me not hear anything. Anyhow, me take my phone and me call me other sister number. When me call my sister number, the phone open but nobody talking, so me hear the bawling. So that's when that was it. Right. My sister is gone.
She is now one of the latest statistics of domestic violence and among 4 murders committed on Saturday. The total number of homicides for the year up to Saturday was 233. Herman Green, TVJ News.
The St. Andrews South Police Division has made another call for persons who may know the whereabouts of a man identified as Andre Williams to report to the police. He's wanted for questioning in connection with the murder of 30-year-old O'Keefe Sewell, a forklift operator and resident of Chisholm Avenue in St. Andrew on Wednesday, October 23 last year. Mr. Sewell was driving his car on Ricketts Crescent when residents say he splashed persons on the road. TVJ News also understands that he stopped the car and an argument ensued. Someone then threw an object hitting his car. He was then set upon by angry residents, stabbed and fell. Now, the police say while he was on the ground, Williams used a building block to hit him in the head. He was pronounced dead at hospital. Mr. Williams' mother was also charged and brought before the courts in connection with Mr. Sewell's death.
We have not been able to find Andre Williams, and we are asking anyone with any information at all regarding his whereabouts, please pass it on to me. We need to clear that murder. I recognize it took on national interest, and since he did that, he went into hiding. He has gone into hiding, and we have not been able to catch up with him at all.
And we go to news overseas now, where Iran's deputy health minister says some 77 people with the coronavirus have died in the country, and there are now at least 2,336 confirmed cases. Concern has been mounting about the situation in Iran, which is battling an outbreak amid an ongoing economic crisis. The country reported its first case on February 19. Still overseas, and we're still talking about the coronavirus, Japan's Olympic minister says the Tokyo 2020 Games could be postponed from the summer until later in the year amid fears over the COVID-19 outbreak. In a response to a question in Japan's parliament, the Olympic minister says Tokyo's contract with the International Olympic Committee, IOC, calls for the Games to be held within 2020. She added that that could be interpreted as allowing a postponement. The Games are due to be held from July 24 to August 9. Under the hosting agreement, the right to cancel the Games remains with the IOC. Sports now. There will be no quarantine period for members of the Jamaican delegation when they return from the CONCACAF Under-20 Women's Championship currently underway in the Dominican Republic unless they show signs of illness. That's the word from Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton. We have more in this report.
Under-20 Reggae Girls have advanced to the quarterfinal stage of the CONCACAF Under-20 Championships, where they will face host nation, the Dominican Republic, on Wednesday. Even as the nation celebrates the achievement, there is some concern, as that country has confirmed 3 imported cases of the COVID-19 coronavirus. Jamaica recently imposed the travel restrictions on China, Iran, South Korea, Italy, and Singapore. But with no such restriction on the Dominican Republic, Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton told our sports department there's no need to place the local-based players or technical staff in quarantine.
When they come in, they would be treated like any other person coming in the island. There'd be a temperature check, which is done for all passengers at our airports through an automatic scanner. They'll be given information on the coronavirus and the precautions to take and the symptoms. And in this instance, they may be discussed, the issue may be discussed a little more by the medical personnel there, but it would not warrant a quarantine arrangement unless there is compelling evidence to support that.
And with hundreds of persons usually traveling to Jamaica for the annual ISA Boys and Girls Championships, we asked the health minister of the plans for those arriving fans.
Well, if there are non-Jamaicans and are on the list of restricted countries, and we have 5 so far, they would not be allowed to land. If, however, they are Jamaicans and coming from those countries, they may be quarantined for the 14-day period.
Meanwhile, Tufton says Jamaica will follow the expert advice when final decisions are made as it relates to this summer's Tokyo Olympic Games.
So it's still a fluid situation, but I would be prepared to say that it is concerning that the proposed host of the Olympics has this kind of challenge now, and it certainly would put our athletes at risk if that trend continues. And it's not a decision that we alone will make. We certainly are concerned about our nationals, but it's certainly a decision that I think the Olympic organizers would have to make, and all the countries of the world, in determining whether they use that venue somewhere else or otherwise.
Last weekend, Italy announced that several matches in Serie A had been cancelled over coronavirus fears. As at Monday, an estimated 87,000 people have been affected by COVID-19 globally.
And that's the Midday News. I'm Vashon Brown. Don't forget to join us at 7 for Primetime News Package. On behalf of the news, sports, and production teams, have a good afternoon.